Hello everyone and welcome to another News Coolum video. This is my return from the 2027 Chevrolet Bolt block parties. We're leaving the Sheraton Hotel here at Universal Studios, so great experience. GM, knows how to treat their guests, so that was very nice of them. Of course, none of this affects any of my opinions about the Bolt EV, predating all of that. And then, of course, the new Bolt EV. My opinions are my own, but my snacks, oh, no, GM got those. So, anyway, it's already, well, it's 3:45 now. I'm actually leaving maybe a little bit later than I wanted to leave. I got to get back to the kiddos. I have a little less than half a battery leaving LA. Wasn't able to get the Tesla Tesla destination chargers for guests working here at the hotel. So I'm leaving with like 40% battery, I think. And I'll just plan the trip as I go. The big goal right now is, we're on Highway 101. Just need to get out of LA before traffic starts. And then, just get north in a reasonable amount of time. Like I said, have the kiddos to take care of. Yeah, let's go, because I'm wasting time. Let's hit the road. All right, so I stopped here in Valencia. I've been wanting to use this charger for a while. It's a GM Energy charger. They're using the old hardware, though. This is the old Signet hardware. And I actually drove right by because this is located at an In-N-Out, which is a great location, In-N-Out off the freeway. But In-N-Out isn't open this early in the morning, so everything is poorly lit in terms of just a charging station. So there are two of us here, and actually, I'm gonna go check out. There's some better lighting. It looks like the cabinets are maybe down there. But like I said, these are the older Signet units. I guess they would technically be like a Gen 3 if you're comparing them to the Signet that Electrify America uses. So I'm not super stoked about this hardware, and I think EVgo has moved away from it now. They're using the Delta hardware primarily. And what I've found just to be the biggest issue with these Signet chargers is they tend to have modules go bad. There's the big controversy about the Signet Surge and whatnot, and I think it has a lot to do with just how they integrated their power modules. I think Electrify America's Gen 4 Signet units, the newer ones that you can't really distinguish between them and their new BTC power units. I think those fourth generation Signet units are kind of fixed. But these ones I'm not really a fan of. But this worked right away. And then I actually helped someone here. I can't tell if they're in a BZ4, BZ4X or a Subaru. But it's too dark. I can't see. But yeah, just getting activated. He had the app up, and once you get used to the EVgo app, it works, but it's not the most intuitive. Like I said, I'm not super enthused about apps, which is why I kind of really enjoy the plug-in charge auto charge that GM enabled for these EVgo chargers. And then in terms of the trip, so again, I left with like I said, maybe 40% battery. And my first stop is going to be in Bakersfield. So even here, we're about 90 miles out. So I'm probably only going to charge up here for another maybe 10, 15 minutes at most. So probably a 20, 25-minute session. No spoiler alerts about what that will get you in the new Chevy Bolt. But so I'm probably going to be here for maybe about 20 minutes. And then just kind of proceed on, and I should still be able to beat traffic out. Northbound isn't as bad, but I was just gonna say, leaving the hotel, you're right there next to Universal Studios. If you leave anything after maybe 5 a.m., you might as well not leave until after 9, right? Because you're just going to get stuck in traffic. So just sleep in, enjoy your room, enjoy a meal. Okay, so actually a cool thing, and I think I knew this from the PlugShare, when EVgo for GM Energy did these two 350 kilowatt Signet chargers, they also complemented these sites with the 200 kilowatt Delta DC city chargers, the other chargers. So it this configuration is nice in a sense, right? And what they've done since then, a lot of times, is actually only done a single Delta 350 kilowatt split charger, and then 2 of the 100 kilowatt. So they've had some various configurations, but these are more of their city urban support chargers, and they really are designed for that, less so than travel. And this is one of the things too that kind of prompted me to try to shift the scoring rubric for my News Coolum site review model, is because I feel like these sites are actually fairly well suited for city support, whereas we're just off of I-5. Getting here, the access road is a little bit long, but it's at least 50 miles an hour, but it was still more than a mile off of the freeway. I think getting back on the freeway, I can see it from here, just on the other side of the In-N-Out. So it maybe is only a quarter mile from the freeway entrance. So just overall a good site. Maybe I've gotten enough footage for it to do a site review. But one thing I did want to call out, because I added that bonus category of, is the charging station oversubscribed? Basically, can it actually provide the nameplate power to all ports at the same time? I know some people have said that that's not necessary, but again, I feel like that's maybe a bit of Tesla groupthink, in particular because of the way Tesla does its charging curves, right? Kyle recently, and I commented on that, did his charging session with the new Model 3 Standard, and again, people are saying, well, the battery's still just dropping off a cliff after the first 10-15% that you add. But a lot of the newer EVs don't operate that anymore. There's a lot of these flatter charging curves, higher power charging curves. So having nameplate power dispensed at all ports at all times is actually a very reasonable ask at this point, because there's a lot of times you could literally have 2 EVs plugged into those 100 kilowatt Delta units, each asking for 200 amps, and 2 EVs pulled into these 350 kilowatt Signet chargers, both asking for 350 kilowatt or 500 amp. And the reason I bring that up is I noticed that the power drops for a lot of these GM Energy sites, even the Pilot Flying J, are only 1200 amp service. So on paper, that's only like a 500 to 600 kVA service. That's not enough to support even just 2 350 kilowatt chargers. So this would actually be another one of those examples where it doesn't qualify for that bonus point of not being oversubscribed, right? Because you literally can't dispense 900 kilowatt at this site, or even if you shave off and say 80 kilowatt per 100 kilowatt charger and 300 kilowatt per 350 kilowatt charger, you still don't have enough power to dispense over 700 kilowatts at this site at the same time. And when they're busy, when there are queues, it's very, very possible that you see that kind of usage. So I don't think it's too much of an ask. And again, that's also why I put it in there as a bonus point, right? So anyway, I think we're ready to hit the road. So getting pretty close. So let's get going. All right, so we're in Lebec at the base of the Tehachapi's. Made it over the mountains, no problem. It was a little chilly, had to run the defogger. I actually didn't really need to stop to charge here, even with 25% battery. Easily going to be able to make it down into Bakersfield. But this site seemed to have been taken off of PlugShare, so I'll double check to see if it's back on there or not. But the other thing is it was replaced by like a PIP for a Nevi site. So I wanted to see if there's some construction here. There's also a Petro. I didn't see any construction on that at all. I'm probably just going to hop back onto the freeway again. There's a TA Travel Plaza over there. I don't know if I'm going to bother going over there. I don't want to waste too much time, right? I just wanted to stop by here and see what was up with this charger. But then I also noticed that they're actually listed as only 40 kilowatt now. So I don't know if there's some sort of site power restriction or whatever. But I mean, these are the CPE 250s, certainly capable of 150 amp or more. And I'll just note that like that CCS connector that ChargePoint is using on this one it's like a clown connector. The thing is so big and so unwieldy and so unnecessarily so, especially like if you're talking about a 100 amp charger. But they also do have these ones do have the J3400 NAX adapter built in. So I guess that's good, but you're still only charging at 40 kilowatts. So this is just a strange sort of site overall. I'm glad to see it's still here at the base of the Tehachapi's. It's a nice place to be able to stop. But it's just weird how it wasn't coming up, and it wasn't coming up. But yeah, so we'll see. All right, so this is a real bummer. I finally made it to this Pilot Flying J location. They call it Bakersfield. No, this isn't the one on Highway 58. This is the one on Highway 99. But I passed by it before, but we really are about 10 miles north of Bakersfield proper, right? And so, of course, I was just thinking how many questions and comments I got 8 years ago about, wait, can the Bolt EV actually go over the Tehachapi's? So just, leaving LA with 50% battery. And I mean, yeah, I stopped in Valencia. So yeah, leaving Valencia with 50% battery, and I was able to make it 10 miles north of Bakersfield with 14%. Whatever I added on that 40 kilowatt charge point was probably irrelevant. So yes, of course, the Bolt EV can make it over the Tehachapi's. I guess finally answering that question directly. But no, it's kind of a bummer because, when I drove by this one, and then I think for some reason when I saw it on the PlugShare, I thought this had a Denny's. So it doesn't really. It just has the fast food, and all of their breakfast items are pre-made and packaged in ways either I don't want to eat or I'm allergic to. So unfortunately, yeah, it would have been nice if they had some maybe scrambled eggs or something out there hot for breakfast. But no Denny's, no diner, no sit down, just a Taco Bell and their regular sundry items. But I mean, this is still a great location for stops. 2 350 kilowatt split power chargers. Time of use rates, but then I realized I'm technically still on the overnight rate. So we're charging at 48 cents per kilowatt hour. All the lights went off though, and we're in that sort of middle period. The sun hasn't quite risen yet, so I can see, but kind of barely. So it's brightening up pretty quick, so they don't really need the lights on anymore. It's just funny how as I walked out it was dark again. But yeah, I think this is just a good overall, just a solid travel site. You get what you need as a traveler, and like I said, 48 cents per kilowatt hour. It's not bad, especially by the California standards at this point. And I'm pretty sure once you start a charge session under a certain pricing structure, it remains. I don't know, maybe they have a way of calculating that once you get past 7 a.m., you're now, charging at 50 whatever cents per kilowatt hour. I don't know if their math is smart enough to do that. I would hope that they grandfather you into the original rate when you plugged in and started charging. So yeah, overall, I mean, just solid. Everything's working, like I said, and my experience with GM Energy and the pilot stations has been very good. Like GM Energy with EVgo overall, easily 90-95% first attempt success rate. And with the GM Energy EVgo Extend with pilot, I think I've personally been 100% every time I've used these chargers. So yeah, I've got no complaints. I'm just going to have a little bit of a coffee and a snack while I charge up. All right, so we're starting to taper just after 30 minutes. So yeah, probably leave in a minute or two and get back on the road, maybe make another stop in about 100 miles or so. Let's get going. All right, well, we're here in Fresno. Actually, I guess more like northern Fresno. We're toward the northern end of Fresno. And unfortunately, I think I did get caught a little bit in not quite rush hour traffic. I didn't see an accident, but there was definitely a slowdown on the freeway. So we actually arrived here with a little bit more energy than I was planning on. Still like 14%. I was expecting to get here with around 10. But this is one of the sites that I wanted to check out for a while now. It was one of the earlier GM Energy sites that they put in on Highway 99 where there were multiple 350 kilowatt chargers all in a row. And the shopping plaza had a lot of amenities listed, but I just wanted to actually get my feet on the ground and look at it for myself. 5-6 years ago, this would have been, we would have been head over heels, like cheering this on as a travel charger. It's about a mile off the freeway though, or Highway 99. So it's not a great travel charger, frankly. And then of course it's exacerbated right now because there is road construction. But yeah, it's a little bit far off the freeway for what I would say is maybe modern standards. So this really is more of a city support charger. But then also this parking facility is huge. So if you're pulled in here, plugged in and charging, you've got to walk for most things. I will say though that it looks like a couple of the restaurants though are the closest walk. So in that way, it kind of does balance out. If there's something you got a hankering for, this site would probably be even okay as a travel site, because even if you're pulling a mile off the freeway or whatever, you're basically gonna probably sit down and eat. So yeah, it's just cool to see like these slightly larger sites. And like I said, I really do feel like this is probably the bare minimum that GM Energy should be looking for anything close to a freeway, right? In terms of the bare minimum in California, I think does need to be this 6 stall split power 350 plus kilowatt chargers, and just plant those near freeway on ramps, off ramps, exits, or whatever, with decent amenities nearby, and you're doing great. And I think this one is 50 cents per kilowatt hour. Didn't get the super off peak, but like I said, you could do worse in California than 50 cents per kilowatt hour, or at least that's my rate now that I'm thinking about it. That's with the member discount. So, but again, and plug and charge has been working great. And I do want to say this, right? I'm featuring GM Energy a little bit more on this trip. If you follow the trip down, it was there, and then this trip up, I've been featuring them even more. And look, I can only, I don't want to apologize for a network or whatever. I always hear the feedback, oh, it doesn't work, but I can only share my experiences. And so far, this trip, they've been 100% for me. And in recent memory, they're pushing 100% reliability. Not just reliability, first attempt, activation, and start charging. No issues with reliability whatsoever, right? There are things that you can criticize, fair enough, right? Like I've been vocally critical about how long the handshake is on these Delta chargers. But if you have a high degree of confidence that you can simply plug in, auto charge will activate, and it will tell you early on that payment has been accepted, and it's authorized to start charging. If you have a high degree of confidence that you plug in, and it's just going to activate at that point forward, or you're following it on the app or following it through your car's app or whatever, the handshake doesn't matter. Like it adds 30 seconds or whatever, 40 seconds over what it would be with maybe a different charger, but you're plugging in and making sure your payment was accepted and then walking away, and that's a 5 to 10 second process. Again, I would want it to be faster, but if we're talking about a 30-second difference and all you're doing is waiting to watch to see the charger start, maybe it really doesn't matter. I don't know. You let me know how important the handshake time is for you if you just have a high degree of confidence that it's going to start charging and giving you the power you're asking for. So, all right, so I think the next stop is actually, it's a place I wanted to look at anyway, so I might as well look at it and charge there on the way up if possible, which means we don't need to charge any longer. It's only about 50 miles. But, one other big, stark issue with this specific location is no handy bathrooms, right? Like maybe if some of the businesses were open that were closer by, it would make more sense. But yeah, just lacking on-site bathrooms is a really big issue for this location specifically. So, and I'll probably need to try to find one maybe the next stop. But I'm going to stop snacking, end the charge. We were joined, I think that's a Lyric. Could be a Vistique, I guess. I'm not going to go nosing around someone's car. But yeah, so let's just get ready to head out. All right, well, Amps EV, while this is a huge charging site, it is also a huge disappointment. So if you watched my trip down heading south, I stopped at an EV range charger, and they had reworked their payment system so that even paying with a credit card, you could only do so if you set up an account with them and set up a profile and then activated through the app. I'll give Amps EV the same grace that I gave EV Range, which is none, right? Anybody can plug 10 chargers into the ground. If you can't hook up a payment system that's required by California law, there's no point in putting those chargers in the ground in the first place. It's a very basic ask, and I would be a lot more forgiving of credit card readers not working if our only example was Electrify America, where they fail regularly. But so many CPOs that use credit card readers absolutely nail it, and it proves that there's zero excuse, right? There is no excuse for not being able to integrate a credit card reader into a charger and allow people to charge without having to set up an EV Connect app. These are listed as 360 kilowatt chargers. These are actually 350 kilowatt chargers, 500 amp service. So yeah, I don't know that 360 kilowatt is the correct rating for them, but they are the full 500 amps. Yeah, I don't remember my password. It's been so long since I've used the EV Connect app. I'm not even going to bother with it. To me, this is a complete fail in terms of a charging site implementation. They have plenty. It looks like a 2500 kVA transformer, which is undersized for 10 360 kilowatt chargers, but still a decent, a decent size. Everything else about this site is okay. It's very big. It's kind of near the freeway, but not really. I'm somehow or another, does this have it has a 10 out of 10 PlugShare score. So people were able to use it as late as October 2nd. So yeah, why couldn't I charge? Could not activate. Yep. So yeah, just fix your chargers. They don't even have the option on the screen to pay. So yeah, I'm giving them a negative mark, even though they have, for some reason or another, a 10 out of 10 on this on their PlugShare score. So yeah, it's just a little bit disappointing when you have chargers like this that should really be working and they just clearly are not. Yeah, I mean, I have a little over 50 miles of range left, so I'm just going to just line up a new charger. Yeah, so yeah, let's just hit the road. Like I said, it's a bit disappointing. You get excited when you see a new station and a relatively new charging provider come online, but if they can't, like I said, if in this day and age you can't even get your payments working, and you're installing your chargers in a state where it's required by law, and you're getting Cal EVIP funding for it, yeah, just fix your chargers and make sure that they're working properly. But wasted time, unfortunate. Would have liked to have been able to use this charger, but let's hit the road. All right, well, things are a bit strange here at Atwater. So it wasn't that the other charger I pulled into wasn't working. I just figured I would be a good Bolt EV driver and come over here and plug into the 150 kilowatt. And sure enough, a Lucid joined right after. So yeah, this is a weird site configuration just in terms of, for a Bolt EV anyway, you either have to back in or it's just awkward to plug into the 150 kilowatt chargers, which is why I always kind of end up defaulting to the 350 kilowatt, just because it's the most natural way to pull in. This session is also weird because the screen doesn't match what my app shows. So my app actually is showing the real session. Well, maybe it stopped updating 14 minutes ago. I'm sure it'll catch up. Like I said, Electrify America has had some real issues in terms of, I feel like the connection to the app and how long it takes to connect and things like that. But walked over to Walmart to like grab some bananas and some stuff like that and used the bathroom, and I got halfway there and I realized I left my wallet in the car, so I had to turn around and walk back. And it is a big parking lot and it is a long walk. That being said, like I said, the Electrify America here works fine. This is one of the ones that has the Tesla power pack for like peak shaving and things like that. So given how much time I kind of wasted with Amps EV, or yeah, let's just hit the road. Oh, and now it's doing, yeah, this station is doing some wonky. It just dropped down to like 10 kilowatt and then up to, okay, I think it's doing that Signet surge. So see, it just went up to like 50 and now it's tapering back down again. So I think it's trying to push more power than the car is asking for, and that's something that this older generation of Signet chargers used to do. It was a really, really bad error. I've actually had it push over, over 60 kilowatt, and the Bolt finally shut it off, just shut it down. So I probably just shouldn't even use this charger from now on, or anymore, I should say, because it's just inconsistent power, and this is one of those things that I worry could actually damage the Bolt EV because it keeps trying to send more power than the car is asking for. Yeah, apparently they still have not fixed this issue yet. So yeah, let's hit the road. I've got bananas. Let's see. Just yeah. Trying to capture this. This is kind of what the behavior looks like, and then it can actually push all the way up past, right? Like we're close to 60%, and it's already trying to push up past 50 kilowatt again, and I think the car is just rejecting the power. So I'm gonna get unplugged post haste and get out of here before Electrify America kills my Bolt. Let's hit the road. Well, I guess what they say is true. You know, if you want to make the smoothest trips possible, you don't really, have any choice other than using the best automotive-backed public charging network in America. What? Who did you think I was talking about? Yeah, so GM Energy, I think we had kind of gotten used to GM Energy working primarily with EVgo because it was either EVgo's native network or it was EVgo Extend with Pilot Flying J. But GM Energy has been working with other charging providers as well, and this is sort of a weird collaboration, I guess you could say, between ChargePoint, GM, and Zero60. And Zero60 has received a number of NEVI awards as well. So that ChargePoint site that I visited in Tejon coming up, and just checking because there's supposed to be NEVI sites nearby, and I didn't see any construction. Those, I believe, were the Zero60s down there at Tejon, right at the base of the Tehachapi's and the Grapevine. So, I mean, this is a really nice site. I will say this, though. Maybe I shouldn't have taken the time to come here. This trip is already running a little bit long heading north because there were a number of sites I wanted to hit up along the way that are maybe not ideal travel sites, right? I would not necessarily recommend this charger if you're traveling up I-5 or Highway 99 trying to make the fastest times, right? Because Elk Grove is a weird sort of city in that it straddles Highway 99 and I-5. And actually a lot of the cities from Stockton, Modesto, up to Sacramento, they all sort of slot in between Highway 99 and I-5. This is why I pushed back on that, when I first got my Bolt EV and I was using Highway 99 to travel, there was a lot of pushback from the Tesla community, partially justifying why Tesla wasn't covering Highway 99, but also talking about how Highway or Interstate 5 was just a strictly superior route. But that only really applies if you're in a very narrow use case of taking I-5 specifically from Southern California to the Bay Area. Anything north of that, and Highway 99 is actually superior to I-5 in a lot of ways, not just the numbers of services along the route, but also the fact that unlike I-5, Highway 99 for a good portion of the route is 3 or more lanes in each direction, as opposed to I-5, which is almost exclusively 2 lanes. Once you get out of down off the Grapevine to Tehachapi's, it's almost exclusively 2 lanes the entire way up, which means semis passing semis, things like that. So I've talked about that, till I'm blue in the face. But it turns out that yes, if you are traveling basically, I would say anywhere north of, probably Stockton, Lodi, anywhere north of that, and there's almost no difference in distance, and the time actually favors Highway 99. All that's a long-winded way of saying this site, though, is very far off the freeway. It's very far off the highway. These chargers are, if you have a 800 volt vehicle, you can get 125 kilowatt. But I think literally dozens and dozens of either stop signs or stop lights that I had to go through, multiple miles off the highway, residential streets, mostly 40, 45 mile an hour streets, but then schools as well. So you're slowing down. So this is just to get here. This is almost more of if you were coming specifically to this shopping plaza, maybe to shop at Safeway or whatever. But then, like I said, this is more of like almost a community charger, and really most of the community here looks like they have off-street parking. It looks like single family homes. Elk Grove has always been kind of a bedroom community. So I'm not sure, but I don't know why I would second guess it, right? Because there's a Cadillac Escalade IQ, and then I forgot, I think was it an EV6, I think, when I came pulling in, already here charging, plugged in and charging. So it's getting used. I'm using it, right? So I don't know how high of a use this will be, but it's a very nice site. 9, yeah, I think there are supposed to be 10 DC chargers. So I think there was a report that it was only 5, but this is a very massive site, a little low on power, but really good in terms of the number of plugs, and probably an appropriate speed if you're grocery shopping, right? So for me in the Bolt EV, it's probably going to be 30 minutes either way, ish, maybe 30 to 40 minutes either way. Typical grocery stops are 45 minutes. So yeah, I mean, Zero60, it's hard to go wrong with ChargePoint's equipment. You know, it has some issues, the screens and things like that, but like I said, outside of the superchargers, this is probably the fastest handshakes, fastest charger startup you're going to get. The CPE 250 has really good cable management. These have both the CCS1 and J3400. Yeah, and they even have level 2 AC here. So this is just a really good site. I guess now I'm maybe talking myself into having to do a charging site review for this, because I think this is where a lot of those bonus points I put into the charging site model come into play, because they really are meant to account for these city sort of municipal support, city support chargers that could also work as a travel charger in a pinch, right? So anyway, that's all I had to say for that. And then I think I do have one more, I think, charging stop. Like I said, I'm a little upset with how long it's taking, but given the types of stops that I've made, it makes sense. It should be expected. Probably be out of here in about 30 minutes, and then I think I'm going to do a quick top up before I go into the mountains. So just making sure that I have enough juice to get there. So hope you enjoyed this Zero60 GM Energy site, and get ready to hit the road. Okay, so just to prove a point that I'm not just making stuff up, so I wanted to stop here at this SkyCharger Electric Era site in Williams, just enough to top up, so I don't need to worry about it when I get home. I wanted to end with this because I wanted to demonstrate that credit card readers work, right? I've never had an issue with EVgo with their credit card readers, but once they started auto charge, that was just simpler. That was just easier for me to do with EVgo. But SkyCharger is another one. I've just never had issues with their credit card reader. I think in all of the times that I've been to an Electric Era SkyCharger site, I think one credit card reader was down one time, and it was back up and running the next time I visited the site. So like I said, that seeing some of these charging providers still struggling with their credit card readers, or integrating their credit card readers in a way that still requires some sort of a sign up, some sort of login, or using the app defeats the whole point of basically point of sale payment. So, but again, it is possible, right? Just look at it, and pretty soon I'm going to be able to drive up and down the state on these SkyCharger with electric era built sites through Nevi. And based on my experience, I have 100% faith that I'll be able to show up at a site, just pay with a credit card, and move on. So yeah, I really don't buy the excuses. I'm not just picking on that AMPS EV. They're just yet another example of it. Like I said in a previous video, EV Range, the way they integrated it required a login and an app, even though you're supposed to be able to pay with a credit card. And then, and I was thinking of another example, and now I'm blanking out on it. Who was the other charging provider that I've used recently where they didn't allow the credit card payment? Yeah, it'll come to me. But yeah, I don't want to pick on just those because they aren't the only one. And then of course, Electrify America requiring the app is another one that's kind of a pain in the butt, because you don't want to have to use an app to activate a charger if you don't want to. I mean, I get that they at least have a membership, but if I'm going to pay without an account, without having that sort of app fatigue or account fatigue, I just want to pay with my credit card and move on. Again, this is a perfect example of this SkyCharger. Just kind of closing out the trip now, assuming I make it home all right. This trip back took about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours longer than the trip down. And it's easy to point to, oh, well, I left with, 40% battery from LA. But that's only part of the picture, right? That alone probably did cost me easily a half hour. But I made 2 different stops at 2 different charging locations. That charge point that I didn't really need to use and wasn't there long enough to really make a difference one way or the other. And the AMPS EV one where I drove out of my way. And then the other aspect of it is I was using this trip to test out chargers that I was interested in seeing, that I would say are not necessarily the most ideal for travel chargers. Don't get me wrong, I think the GM Energy at the In-N-Out in Valencia, I think that one actually is a really decent travel charger, depending on which direction you're going from. It's not, the entrance to get back on the freeway is actually relatively close, and it has the type of amenities you would want when you're traveling, just fast food and places to eat. The GM Energy Pilot Flying J in Bakersfield, again, great travel charger just off the freeway. Travel Plaza stuff, I was actually hoping for a sit-down meal, and all they really had was the Taco Bell, so that was not ideal. But otherwise, for most people, that would be a really great travel charger stop. And then of course this one here is great for travel chargers, just off the freeway. Again, you're at a convenience store. There's a McDonald's over there. There's going to be a Dutch Brothers Coffee pretty soon going in across the street. So this is just a really nice location right off the freeway. The GM Energy in Fresno I used, and the GM Energy ChargePoint one that I used in Elk Grove, those are really not set up as travel chargers. No bathrooms that are easily available. I think later in the evening, if you're stopping for dinner or food, I think the one in Fresno is good, but the one in Elk Grove is always going to be, I think I'd see that more as a city support charger. And then of course the Electrify America that I went to, to go, I ran into Walmart and just picked up some light stuff, some quick stuff that I could grab from them. I still have a banana left. Woohoo! and to use the bathroom finally. That one again, Atwater, it fills in a gap sometimes if you need it, but I would also not really consider that a great travel charger stop. You're kind of going out of your way, and then it's a big parking lot with a retail plaza. Not exactly ideal. But I will say, just overall, in terms of the reliability, effectiveness, I think GM is doing a great job. And like I said, they're diversifying their portfolio. So we saw the Pilot Flying J, we saw the standard GM Energy EVgo partnership, and now we saw the Zero60 ChargePoint GM Energy partnership. And I think all of them right now are just, they're doing great. So anyway, I'd love to hear what you think. What did you think of this trip? I think, like I said, it took a little bit longer heading back, but that's kind of expected, even though our efficiency is much better because we don't have that crosswind this time. So we've improved our efficiency. But yeah, overall, I think this Bolt EV is still competent as a long distance travel car, but it just might be a little bit slower and take a little bit longer than some people would be willing to spend on a trip. The new Bolt that I checked out, and again, if you haven't seen that video, please do. I'm going to work on that one first before I do these travel videos. Yeah, GM hit it out of the park. That Chevy Bolt, the new one, it is as competent of a travel car as I think we can reasonably ask for right now in a city car package, which is kind of missing. It's been missing from our lineup. And Chevrolet has a hit with their Bolt. So, like I said, check that out, and then let me know if you have any questions or what you thought of this little travel extravaganza through Central California. I haven't done this type of trip in a long time. So, as always, thank you for watching.